Sometimes it only appears that people have abandoned their children when the reality is destiny is right beneath you. Stay tuned as we discuss The Witcher, Season 1, Episode 7.
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everybody, I'm Rachel Goodman, and I'm here with our amazing Witcher panel.
Oh, yeah.
We've
We're
got,
amazing.
We've got Olivia the Sorceress.
Hello, my loves.
And we've got Ben the Witcher.
Hi.
No, we're waiting for
The grunt. There we
I love
go.
that one. Oh my god.
Anyway, thank you all for tuning in today. We are talking about episode 7, Before a Fall. Before we dive in, be sure to stay tuned until the end. We've got our Toss a Coin to Our Spotlight production, and we've got some news as well. All right, let's just dive on in here. First of all, I'm going to open it up to ask you guys what you had like as far as overall thoughts of this episode. Olivia, is there anyone in the chat that would want to talk about this too?
So hi, you guys. I'm in the chat. Glovis, she finally got to see us live, so very exciting. I see you in the comments, but in the live chat is awesome. Ivan Soto, as per usual. NAP.
Hi, Ivan.
And Mason. And Benny. Hi, everybody. So glad to see you guys all the time. You guys are the best. Yeah, let me know what you guys think of the episode. My thoughts. I loved it. It was like, finally things are coming together. They're making so much more sense. Timelines are making sense. I can't believe Geralt was there the whole time during the war. It was so crazy, and I'm so sad that it's almost over.
Right. The same here. I was like, wow, he was actually at the castle when it all happened, right? When Nilfgaard took over, I was like, wow, interesting. I didn't expect that. And also we find out more about his childhood. That was the key for me too, because I never really realized where he was coming from. We never talked about it. And now we see him as a kid kind of being like raised by Vesemir, right? By this other guy at the end. So.
Yeah, and I think they talk about that more in episode 8 as well.
Oh, that's right.
So, but we will definitely get there.
Yeah.
We are overall, yeah, no, it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
We actually, as you guys will notice, we're reviewing 7 and 8 back to back. So the panel has seen the entire show at this point. So if we talk about something in 8, we are sorry.
Yeah.
But,
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's
and
okay.
stick with us, because right after this, we're going to do 8. So
exactly.
yeah, watch it with us.
Yeah. My overall thoughts. So I am somebody who prefers when there is a narrative that continues throughout a show. While I appreciated some of the elements that were more, they felt certain things earlier on felt more like a short story. Yes, we met Yennefer, we got her backstory, but especially with Geralt, we were getting a lot more of little things that, even though they are like pieces of the world and now we're here and it's all paying off because we've seen all of these things.
Right.
I'm very excited for this moment because we've got everything that we've been learning about tying back in together, and the stakes of the characters and the arcs and the emotions, like everything, all of this ready to take a drink. Destiny is paying off, as we've heard from episode 1 that there is destiny at play here. Yes, thank you.
Shit, let's like 3 shots, you guys. You better be keeping
I'm already done. I'm like, no,
Okay.
but seriously, I really have to say that for me, I need this kind of payoff at some point, in some episode, where we realize, okay, what's the connection between these different episodes?
Yes.
I always sometimes have a problem to follow if we have these time jumps or having different episodes starting at different time frames or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was great that they showed us, hey, he was there the whole time, and then it makes all sense to me out of a sudden. You know?
Because I thought he was a deadbeat dad.
Me too.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I was like, okay, this guy just doesn't want to attach. He doesn't like, and we had just seen, the last couple of episodes where he had issues with Yennefer, and he was finally coming to terms with maybe actually wanting a committed relationship. And so now I think that is very much why we saw that relationship with Yennefer unfold. One, because they have this connection, but two, we've seen the arc in Geralt, and now he's in a place where he's returning to Cintra, and he can feel it. And I think that I'm gonna make another Star Wars reference because I am a huge Star Wars nerd. So just like with Star Wars, where certain people, with the Force, you can feel the people, you can feel other Jedi, you can feel certain things happening when you're connected to a person.
Yeah.
That's what I felt like was at play here with Geralt returning to Cintra, because he could feel that Ciri was not going to be safe.
Yeah.
And that it was his time to step in and rescue her.
And he was probably like, I don't want this. He never wanted this to begin with, but like as time went on, he, like you said, he was feeling her. He was feeling her inside him, and he was like, I need to do this. Clearly, this is my destiny. Clearly, this is what I have to do. And like, thank you.
I'm running out.
There's no way around it. You know?
Right.
It's crazy too, because I will say one thing about the book. The story with Dooney and Pavetta does happen, but the difference is that at the end of that short story, Geralt actually asks for a child. He wants a legacy.
Yeah.
So it's different. So like in the series, obviously, it's like he did not want to be a father, but here he is, and he's stepping up to the plate. And when he gets to Cintra, he's met with a lot of resistance.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you guys overall thoughts about Calanthe and her decision to trick him and then jail him.
I mean, excuse me. She should have learned from the first time, like, that this is his destiny. But
I can do it for you.
thank you. Yeah, you go. No, don't trick. But like she was fighting him the whole time, and like, look what happened again. You know, if she would have just been okay with the destiny this whole time, then maybe things would have gone differently for her.
Yeah.
While I appreciate her stubbornness and the fact that this is what I love about Calanthe, I see her as a person, and I love using that word because in so many fantasies especially, we so often get the Mary Sue effect where there's a damsel in distress, and it's changing, but like especially with this show, I love that Calanthe and other female leads are not like that. No. And so I appreciate Calanthe in being her own person and having her own mind. But that being said, her choices frustrate me when we know that she needs to abide by this whole destiny aspect and allow Geralt to walk away with Ciri. However, she's obviously missing Pavetta and doesn't want to lose the last piece of her daughter that she has. So I understand that.
Yeah, I get that. And also from a storyline perspective, I like that she was stubborn at the very beginning, because I didn't see that coming. And then also the camera perspective, when we're in the room and we have this like blonde little girl, I was like, is she really just giving Ciri to him now just like that? Because she was sounding so differently before. And then we see the camera moving around, and all of a sudden, it's a different girl.
Yeah.
I love that moment.
The fact that
you knew? Okay.
Well, no, because I could tell by her hair, first of all, was so different. But we're girls, so we get that.
Sorry.
But yeah, from her hair, I was like, no way, this is a different girl.
Oh.
Really quickly, in the chat, Luann is a first-time chatter. Hey, Luann. And her first comment is epic, and she says, Geralt can have a baby with me. So, welcome to the club.
I had a feeling you're going to say that. It's
Anyways, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, in that scene where we don't see the face of the little girl, I was like... Yeah. There is a purpose. It was too long. If it had just been for a split second, I might have said, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
It was too eerily long. Yeah.
So it was too predictive. Yeah, you could tell.
It was obvious that there was something up with this. And also, Calanthe, I felt her acting this.
Yes.
Like acting sad and saying what she thought Geralt would expect her to say.
Yes.
Right.
I didn't think she was gonna give her up. I knew Calanthe was gonna have some, trickery afoot.
Yeah. Which is such a brilliant part on Calanthe's acting as an actress. Like, she was acting but then sub-acting too in the whole episode. I was like, this lady, I mean, I don't like her, but she's brilliant.
Yeah.
She does a brilliant job acting.
I feel everyone does, to be honest.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Ciri, I mean, I love this girl. She's 18, right? We talked about her.
She's actually
she does an
18.
amazing the facial expression when she really just she doesn't even say anything, and I feel what she feels.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
Right.
She is brilliant.
Brilliant.
So Geralt, the last thing we get is that once again Calanthe is messing around with destiny, and he's been jailed, but we don't even quite see it at first until we go through Yennefer's whole story and how she goes back to Aretuza.
Yes.
So the only thing we really see with Geralt before we get there is that they know that he's going to stick around and grab Ciri when the time is right. And at this point, they do not want him stepping in. So they just kind of, like, I guess, lock him between those two bars.
Yes.
And I kind of assumed, okay, what are they going to do with him? I thought it was going to be more like a spell that they put him under, because they were pretty foolish to think that he wouldn't find a way to escape a jail.
That's what I thought. When I saw that he was kind of in prison, I was like, hey, come on, man, that's easy for you to just escape. But I felt like he even wanted to be there. He was like, you know what? I want to stay here anyway. I want to be close to Ciri anyway. So if you want to have me right here, I'm going to stay for a while. And if I need to escape, I'll just do it.
Yeah, he was chilling. He was just like sitting back, just like relaxing.
I was like, you know a way out.
I definitely thought about that.
Yeah, he was very calm.
For sure.
So, so let's talk about Yennefer. Before we do, though, we have an announcement for everybody listening at home.
Of course we have an announcement, guys. This is the best announcement ever, because we, first of all, wanted to say thank you to all of you guys, everyone around the world, for making us the ESPN of TV talk, right? I mean, without you guys, we cannot do what we do every day, every week, every year, right? We love that. We have so many shows. Thank you so much. If you're watching us on YouTube, thumbs up, right? Give us a lot of thumbs. We like that, right? And also the podcast, iTunes podcast. Leave us some comments, messages, 5 stars. We love stars, right? And keep up with that. We really like you. Be on the chat. Give us some comments and on your own opinion, right? That's what we live off. So appreciate that and keep going.
Yeah.
And thank you all.
And Vito, we love you too.
Yes. Thanks, Vito.
Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about Yennefer, and then this is going to lead, kind of segue into the build-up to war, which then will bring us back to talking about Geralt and Ciri one more time.
Yes.
Okay, so Yennefer. First of all, were you guys super surprised that she actually went back and was having this conversation with Astrid?
No. I mean, I was in a relationship before, right, in my life. So that's what people do sometimes, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of hurt by someone that you actually love, but then you think about your ex out of a sudden. And you feel like, oh, I might just talk to her for a minute, But then you also realize at some point, no, I can't go back.
No.
I still love that person, but I don't really want to admit it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what she did. She was just hurt.
And they had such a deep connection, he was there for her, right at the beginning when she was going through all this crazy stuff. And so he was like one of her bigger supports. And so, of course, I'm not surprised that she went back to him. And I think they just ended up being, very different people.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
And what I also wanted to mention, I love that scene where they're sitting at the table and they get close to each other and they're kissing, right? We see the kiss, but his acting is so good that I could tell that he's trying so hard to give her a feeling of, I want that too, but he doesn't really want it.
Yeah.
And then out of a sudden he changes his whole expression on something. I really like the acting. I just wanted to point that out. This moment was incredible. And then he just walks off and says, sorry, I can't do this.
Yeah.
It really, to me, felt like I was watching two, people who were now adults talking to their former child, teenage year relationship, former love.
Totally.
That is the feeling I got from this. Like you said, Ben, I think that Yennefer did go back to him because she was in a moment of pain.
Yes.
I also was wondering if there was another ulterior motive to it, though, because with Yennefer, a lot of times, yeah, exactly. So I was like, why is she here exactly? I did genuinely believe that she cared for him, and a part of her wanted to try and make it work, and that maybe somehow she was trying another way to have a family, and she thought, okay, well, he could be my family. And the other thing with him is that he cared for her before her transformation, and he made it quite obvious that when he made the comment about, well, at least they didn't change your eyes, it almost sounded like he would have preferred her to be in her original form. And that, to me, I was like, okay, I even wrote a comment good for you for saying that. And I appreciated that. I appreciate when we have characters like that who they look at someone and see their beauty regardless of what everyone else in society might think of that person.
Right.
And so I really respected him. I also respected his decision to say no and walk away from her.
Yeah.
This is a person who now, she even said it herself, oh, well, yeah, you're right, I can have anybody, and I've had everybody I could have, and now I'm here because I realize what's important. And he still walked away from it. And I appreciate that. I like you said too, Ben, with the kiss, I could tell that he wasn't, he was into it, because it's the first person you're ever with like that, or one of the first people, there's always going to be something that you might not necessarily love them forever, but there's always that past that
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
things a little more sentimental.
For sure.
And so I feel like that he was trying, but that it wasn't there for him anymore.
It's like real life. I think you never forget about your first big love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even now thinking about it, I remember her. Like,
Yeah.
no, she,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
hello.
She's
watching.
I still like you. You're good. People. But yeah, you never forget that.
Yeah.
And I feel
Yeah.
like this show, I mean, it's like a fantasy show in a way, right? But
Yeah.
I think it really talks a lot about real life.
Yeah.
Even destiny. We always talk about destiny like in a funny way. Oh, sorry, drinking time. But in general, I feel like destiny is part of our lives too.
Yeah.
Because there are situations in life where you meet people. Do you know that moment when you meet someone and you feel like, wow, I think it's meant to be that I just meet you right now.
Yeah.
You know that feeling?
Yeah.
And I love this about the show. They talk about that all the time.
In the chat, they're saying, why are we always saying that Yennefer has ulterior motives and do we think she's evil? And I don't think that none of us think that she's evil. We just think she's gone through a lot of things in her life and she really has one motive in her life, and that is to have a child. And I don't think that she's evil necessarily, and I don't think she went back because of, ulterior evil motives, but she did, she is looking for a family, and she went back to Astrid because he was someone that was a family to her, years ago. So we don't think that she's evil necessarily. We just think that she's complicated and has a lot going on with her and has had a really traumatic childhood. And I think somebody said it. Oh, Mason, the TV show hasn't 100% told us that she isn't evil.
Yeah. I think for me, what it is it stems from when we saw her as a kid,
Yes.
when she first went to Aretuza and was working with Tissaia, and how she was willing to, go, trade secrets in favor, of what was going to work for her in Aretuza.
Exactly.
So same thing with Astrid. If the roles had been reversed and he had been the one reaching out to her, I would have wondered if he had ulterior motives
Exactly.
too. Because to me, when I see two people who are betraying each other, I will always remember that
Yeah.
because there is a darkness to both of them, and we've seen what lifestyle she came
Yeah.
from. And so to be treated in that manner, I don't think she's evil, but it's just that when you're treated like that and society has cast you out, you don't forget that.
For sure.
And so there's a bitterness that
For
sticks
sure.
with you. And I think that that's what it is with Yennefer,
Yeah.
especially with Astrid, because it hurt her very badly what he did to her. So that's why it
Exactly.
surprised me that she'd go back to him ever
Right.
in any lifetime.
And coming back to real life, if you can't become or like have a family anymore, you can't become a mom or something like that. You want to at least find your position. I think her kind of like way of doing it is like to become a very powerful person in this
Yes.
world.
Yeah.
Because
And-
she knows, hey, if I'm not being a mom, I want to be someone now.
Yeah. And as we've seen, she'll stop at nothing
That's right.
to get what she wants. And
Yeah.
that doesn't make her evil.
That's right.
That just makes her power hungry.
Yeah.
And that makes her complicated. And, it makes her interesting. But I don't think it makes her evil. But it definitely, there's some layers to her
Yeah.
that we need to understand.
Which reminds me of the movie, I have to say that, of Joker a little bit.
Oh.
Think
Yeah.
about that for a minute.
Well.
It's the same kind of thing. No, seriously, think
So-
about that for a moment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and while I wouldn't quite, in my opinion, I see where you're coming from.
Thank you.
I would not quite compare her to Joker.
I don't think so.
I'm just saying that, but I do see where you're coming from, and like Joker, there is this, he was shunned and treated like he had special needs and
Yeah.
just treated like he was not a human. And
Yeah.
that did lead to some of the choices that he made.
That's right.
So yeah, there is definitely, a crossover there in terms of what people do when they're treated like crap.
Yeah.
At least you know where I'm coming from. That's enough for me. People.
absolutely,
That's enough for
absolutely.
me.
But I think she has a better heart than the Joker. And I think deep down she wants good
And I
at
also
the end of the day.
I also think she's way more in touch and grounded than the Joker is.
Of course, I
too.
mean,
Yeah.
not to forget, Joker is mentally ill.
Yes.
Right.
Right,
yeah,
of course,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
a
yeah.
huge difference. But in general, the motives
Yeah.
are very similar, I feel. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So let's talk a little bit about Vilgefortz, because it was kind of funny. As soon as Astrid left her and turned her down, it was like, boom, boom, here's Vilgefortz sitting
Yeah.
down. It seemed like he was going to proposition her. He was, but not the way that we thought.
Yeah.
So he ends up leading to her return to Aretuza, where we have this whole scene with these younger girls. What did you guys think about that?
I loved it. I loved the throwback to, her younger days. And, for her, it was such like a traumatic experience, but it ended up being like not a horrible. It was horrible. It's hard to explain because it was horrible and terrible, but it also made her who she is. and it made her this powerful, sorceress witch that she is today. So it's like, it's such a weird balance. And it was so interesting seeing her interact with the younger girls, and they were so naive and so scared, and it was hard to think of Yen that way, but that's exactly how she was too, which is weird.
I mean, for me personally, it was a great contrast.
Yeah.
Just showing how the growth of her personality. I think for me, it was more like she was talking to herself, not really talking to the girls. That's how I felt about it. And I think that was a great way of telling the story.
And I think she was irritated too, because Yen is just, doesn't have, like, it's like going back to a place where you experienced a lot of trauma. You walk in, I'm sure there was a lot of anxiety and nerves just to be there again. But then not only that, to learn that they're not even training people who have natural abilities. It's whoever pays from really wealthy families. And I think Yen's just like, no, I'm done with everything. And we see that after she has her meeting with Tissaia, which I felt bad for both of them. I could see where Tissaia and Yen were both coming from. But when we moved into the council meeting, that's when things got a little crazy, because here's where we're now learning this is the timeline right before we see the fall of Cintra and Queen Calanthe's death. At this point, the council calls, they end up voting. Surprisingly to me, Tissaia actually wanted to help Cintra and protect everyone against the Nilfgaards, which she later explains has to do with saving Aretuza.
Yeah. I wasn't really surprised. I feel like she is not as evil as we had thought that she was. Like, even in last episode or the episode before, when she came to Yen's house and she was like trying to talk to her and
Inrend.
Yeah, and it was like you got the feeling that she is kind of like a mama bear to her, and she does care about her in a way that maybe other people don't. And so when she was trying to defend Cintra, I wasn't really surprised, because she is a good person, I think, and trying to do the right thing. And Yen has always been so combative with her since day one, and it's funny because it is like a mother-daughter relationship.
And I also wanted to ask you guys something. Maybe I just misunderstood that, but at some point, Fringilla is coming in, right? And they just have this kind of conversation. And then she says to everybody, I want to say thank you to Yennefer, because she led me to this position that I'm working in right now. How did that happen? Did I miss that?
It was because Yen was supposed to go with the Nilfgaards.
Yes.
And so what happened was, when it came out that she was an elf, that's where they were going to send her, with the Nilfgaards instead of Aedern.
You got it.
But she went through the transformation. And that's one thing I wanted to say, too, about that transformation. I had always thought, I had never, and I'm sorry, I actually have to say destiny here. But
okay.
I'm ready.
I had always thought that it was a choice, that it was not destiny that led to Yen deciding to do the transformation. In this passage with the young girls and with everything with Tissaia, and then seeing and hearing everything going on at the court, it actually sounds like that was destiny, and that Yen was put to a test, and the test was whether she was going to choose to have a calm life with Astrid, or step into her place of power.
Right.
And so, she said to the young women, hey, the option is, no matter what, you leave here, and if you either end up as an eel, or if you ascend, you lose your ability to bear life. And so to me, I took that as, okay, every single person who ascends, they go through that transformation process. It's not just if you like for Yen, I always thought it was because she had the hump and that's why she did it, but that was not the situation.
No, because a lot of those girls, if you notice, had physical ailments that, maybe that's kind of more of a thing of why they wanted to become, witches, because they have these physical ailments, and if they become a witch, they'll lose their, right or whatever to have children, but they'll also become beautiful again. So I that was definitely a thing that I noticed too.
Yeah.
Good point.
So then we have Fringilla coming in, and now we know for sure, we already knew that she was with the Nilfgaards and that she was up to no good. Now we know for sure, everybody in the council knows for sure, it is Fringilla and Cahir and the Nilfgaards against Cintra. Well, pretty much. So this whole battle starts. So that's kind of where we leave it with Yennefer, is that we know where she stands and where Tissaia stands, and that she, it seems like she's going in the direction of actually going to help Cintra, but we don't quite know that yet. The big thing is that when we go back to Cintra, and now we're seeing the fall.
Yes.
And I appreciated that they actually went back and replayed everything we had seen in episode 1.
Yeah.
I loved how they did this, but then on top of that, now we see it from a different perspective. In episode 1, we weren't privy to every conversation that Mousak and Calanthe were having. Now we hear the full thing that Ciri only got snippets of.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Really quickly, Ivan Soto, they don't have to give up their fertility. It was an old rule and it was never mandatory. Apparently they lied to her.
Oh,
So,
okay. Well,
I don't know. Anyway.
You're the pro. I
Yeah.
can tell that. Oh,
Yeah, well, good to know.
Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
But yeah, no, I love that they showed us all the different conversations that people were having, and it made me understand that battle so much more. And you know, the first time they showed us, you know, Mousak leaves, and you're like, where did he go? They never explained
Exactly.
it. But then now they do, and it's like, oh, now I see why they never explained any of that.
Every
Yeah.
time she said in the first episode, she said, "It's time." I said, "What do you mean it's time for what?" I didn't really get it because, as you
Yeah.
say, everyone's just leaving. I said, "Okay, but where are you going now?
Yeah.
Time for what?" You know.
And then
That was
all we
beautiful.
had heard was Calanthe saying, "You need to find Geralt of Rivia." That was
Yes.
it. But
That's right.
now that they layered in all this extra dialogue,
Great idea.
okay, this makes sense. And I love when shows do that,
Yeah.
where
I
they
love
replay the same scene but from a different perspective. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
And then I guess just to kind of wind everything down, we do know that Geralt is in the dungeon as this is all happening, and that he gets out, and that's why they miss each other, because he's trying to find Ciri,
Yes.
and Ciri's already gone.
Yeah.
So let's jump and talk about Ciri before we get into our special segments. With her, we're in the future again.
Yeah.
But at this point, it's not much further in the future anymore.
No.
Yeah, maybe I think Ivan had actually said it's only been a couple days for her. So,
Yes.
or maybe a week beyond
Yes.
everything happening in Cintra. Maybe. So she's trying to get to Skellige, ends up in the woods with a horse talking to it like Geralt. I
Yes.
loved that. And then we have this attack
Yes.
from these kids.
I love that the horse talking moment, because when they did that, I was like, man, she is her father's daughter. Like, she's exactly like him. She, like you even said, she even looks like him. So it was just, it was a cool little nod to, like, you know, this is my destiny. So I just thought that was a cool moment. But yeah, what was sad about the part where she gets attacked by the boys is that those were her friends. You know, those were like people that she played in the streets with, and they're like, oh, we don't have to listen to you anymore, princess, and we don't have to lose to you. And I feel like it's not fair for her, because she is this like sweet little girl, and she doesn't mean any harm, you know, and they're like attacking her for her title and who she is, and it's like, you know, that's not fair. They were super unfair to her.
And also, we saw kind of the next level of her powers in a way, right?
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
like, oh my god, there's something happening. You know?
So there's two thoughts I have. So one,
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting to mention that whole scene with Geralt, where before, kind of in the past again, where he steps out and sees her playing Knucklebones.
Yes.
And this is also calling back to the first episode.
Yes.
But then two, kind of going back to this future moment, it's when she actually like went above and beyond with her powers. I almost thought we were hearing Pavetta's voice. We were hearing a more mature female voice.
Yes.
And so I thought, okay, if her mother, we don't know for a fact that her mother and Dooney are dead. They were just lost at sea, which, you know, hey, no body, then you never know.
Right.
So one, if her mother is alive, it could be that she's somehow channeling this energy and helping her. Or if her mother has passed away, it could be the same thing, that she is coming in from the other side and helping her daughter fight these boys off, because it seemed like she was calling like her instincts, Ciri's instincts, without her even realizing it, were to call on these things that were happening. Yeah.
I mean, I just wanted to talk about that scene very quickly where
Yeah.
Geralt is getting out and it basically sees her playing. And because the other blonde girl is saying, hey, your highness or something. So
Yeah.
he knew who she is.
Yeah.
I was like, why do you go back inside?
I think he knew who she was. Yeah. And
Why
I
don't
think
you just come up and just take her because you know who she is and
Yeah.
you want her.
But he's trying to also do the right thing and not be like kidnapping kids, you know, like without her approval or whatever. And I know, like, whatever. But it's like he didn't want to just like grow up and grab a child out of the street. I feel like that makes it ickier.
And we don't know this yet, but everything with his childhood that we're going to see in 8, I think that's another reason why he wouldn't just want to go up and grab somebody who's unsuspecting and doesn't realize who this person is. So I agree with you.
Okay, you won.
I always win.
So
Just kidding.
with the time that we have left, let's dive into our special segments.
Ooh.
That was
nice.
fancy.
Sorry, I had to do that.
So our special segment is a toss a coin to your production. So we just kind of talk about the different aspects of the production of the show, which is really cool. And for today, I just wanted to talk about the CGI, which is really interesting because it's very seamless in this show. Like it doesn't feel like, oh yeah, this is like a big CGI production. And so I saw an article and it said, in an interview with Premiere Magazine, Laws, which is one of the producers of the show, explained the vision behind the overall look of the series, stating, "I don't want to see the actor play in front of a green screen talking to a green ball. We wanted something real even during fight sequences." He then pointed out that the audiences nowadays are able to easily recognize CGI on the screen, which is very true, and that it often hinders immersion. He then stated, if you create excellent CGI in one scene, you have to keep the same level of quality for all the others. And then, we like in this whole show, it's been like very seamless. Hirish, which is the producer, also expressed a certain disinterest in the use of CGI for The Witcher. She explained that it was important for the show to have an authentic style. A superb video game already exists, and I really didn't want a show to look like it. This attitude towards CGI might lead some viewers to believe that The Witcher may not be able to match other fantasy shows in terms of scale. After all, HBO spent upwards of $10 million per episode in later seasons for Game of Thrones, while Amazon has already spent roughly $1 billion on its Lord of the Rings series. So they're spending like serious money on CGI, but The Witcher has always been like, I don't want that. I want it to feel more real.
And you can have a high budget for a show without a lot of CGI too. Like just off the top of my head, since we're talking millions, I know that The Crown at one point was spending about $4 million an episode, and from what I could see, there wasn't CGI. It was just
location, set design, costume. That costs money.
And so you can tell that's what they did with Witcher.
For sure.
That it's very heavy on the scenery and very ornate and detailed.
They even went to all the countries in Europe, right? Which pretty much looks like that. So love that.
Awesome.
So,
great.
Cool,
well,
thanks.
let's jump to our news then as our final segment.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So the news is kind of similar to the production part because it is going to talk about how things were made. But so online, I was reading that a lot of people were talking about Yennefer's makeup during this whole series. This is kind of a girly one, so sorry, dudes. But anyway, so the makeup on this series was so good, and you don't see like really heavy makeup in like more like older shows like this where you go kind of in the past. You don't see like dark greens or dark purples in eyeshadow. So we want to talk about Yennefer's look, how in a bunch of the different episodes, she has bright green eyeshadow and bright purple eyeshadow. And then, in this scene too, she had, some of the most beautiful makeup that I had seen in a long time. And it's so striking and loud, which is super rare for shows like this. And then we also, see in the Women of the Forest, or there in Queen Calanthe, she even had like dark eyeliner throughout the shows, and usually it's like, these women don't wear much makeup. And then there was another scene, the Women of the Forest, their makeup was so on point. And so people online are talking about how well done the makeup is. And so an article got in touch with the show's makeup artist, who said that she used Charlotte Tilbury eyes to mesmerize which is a brand, Charlotte Tilbury's Eyes to Mesmerize in Cleopatra. The bad news is that the shade appears to be sold out on the entire internet, which always seems to happen with beauty products.
Wow.
So because of this eyeshadow, it's all sold out. All the girls like went out and bought it. So you can't get it anywhere on the internet. And I thought that was funny.
That's fascinating to me as a guy.
It is,
wow.
gone, that eyeshadow color. Anyway, I thought that was interesting and a fun little news part.
No, I love it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Well, everybody, now's the time where we wrap. We're going to be back in about 10 minutes for the finale. Until then, Ben, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. It's at Benjamin Schnau, like the dog, right? You know what I'm talking about. And we also did The World According to Jeff Goldblum 2 days ago. So it's up online. Check it out. And we're going to do it next Tuesday again.
Yep. I'm Olivia Debortoli. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Olivia Debortoli. And stay here because we're going to be right back for the next episode. And yeah, I also do the Arrow After Show.
Awesome. And I'm Rachel Goodman. You can find me on Twitter at Rach Goodman or on my author account on Instagram at Rachel Radner Author. If you like soaps, I'm on the Restless Wrap After Show on Sundays. I'm also doing Ray Donovan, Doctor Who, and Stumptown on Wednesdays. So if you like any of those shows, I also sometimes do the Marvel shows as well. And I'll be here for Outlander in February.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will see you in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Until then, enjoy your afternoon.
Bye, you guys.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.